I think, is one of the most favorite stories for Christians and non-Christians alike. It is colorful, it is rich and inexhaustible in its meaning. I don't know about the rest of you, but on Christmas Eve, when our Magi came down that aisle, well, this aisle, it was the best part of the whole Christmas Eve service. The Magi appear at our crib with their royal clothes, their precious gifts, and we give them spectacular names like Caspar and Melchior and Balthazar. It is all so romantic. It's all so exotic. And I don't know about you, but I wonder what Matthew had in mind when he told this tale of the three magi who came to see the baby Jesus. What he had in mind, I would like to suggest a few things for you this morning, is quite powerful and is the essence of the gospel message. For the magi represent for Matthew, I think, three things. They are, as he tells it, outsiders, seekers, and latecomers. First, they're outsiders. They were from a faraway land. They were different. They brought their own unique gifts, and they were welcome. Do such outsiders live today in today's world? Absolutely, they do. Absolutely, we do. But are they welcomed? Not always. All we have to do is pick up our newspaper or turn on any of our devices to know that people are made to feel like outcasts for all kinds of different reasons, for race, for who they love, for age, for economics, to name only a few reasons why people are made to feel like outsiders. Some remember how the Japanese were treated during World War II. That skin, those eyes, those clothes, those habits, that food, who can trust them? As for the African American community, listen to Pete Vanderlin's story. Pete Vanderlin, if you've read the, what is that little magazine that we all get here? No, the other one. No, not Broadview. The little one. Daily Bread, that's it. Thank you. The Our Daily Bread, he is the director of the Our Daily Bread. He writes in his book, he says, I remember one day when I learned to hate racism, that day that I learned to hate racism. He says, I was in grade 1, about 6 years old, and I was walking home from school, and I was just as happy as any 6-year-old little boy could ever be. And I was in a hurry to get home because my mother had something special planned for us. So in my hurry, I took a trip down the back alley instead of going the main route like I was always told to go. He says, as I came careening around that corner in that alley, I came across a garage, and there I found it. Before I could turn and run the other way, there was a young black boy up against the garage wall, and there were 3 white kids. He says, back then, he says, they looked like giants to me, and they were hitting the kid against the wall. They were taking their turns, and then they saw me, and I couldn't get away. And they grabbed me and said, unless you want it to, you better do what we're doing. So Peter says, I wound up my little fist and I hit the boy in that turquoise sweater he was wearing. He says, I didn't hit him very hard because I was too scared to hit, and I was too scared not to hit. After a minute or so, when I landed that first punch, they let me go. And I ran as fast as I could, sick to my stomach and crying as hard as I've ever cried in my whole life. And he says in his story in that book of his that 35 years later, that event still preaches a sermon to me. One can despise, decry, denounce, and deplore something without ever having willingly suffered or even be inconvenienced about it at all. If there is one thing that Jesus taught us, it was how to suffer for others. Perhaps, and he goes on to say, perhaps my first chance to follow that example came in that alley 35 years ago. I don't know if that black boy from the alley grew up. I don't know where he lives or what he does today. I never even knew his name. I wish I could find him. I need to ask for his forgiveness. Yes, forgiveness for the blow I landed, for sure, but really forgiveness for not willingly standing and taking the blows with him. At the crib, there were no outsiders. There's no racism. There were no beatings. Jesus received everyone. Ox and ass, shepherds and magi, poor and rich, Jews and Gentile, gay and straight. He came for us all. He would reject no one, as he would accept the unique gifts that each person brought that day. What a pity if his followers don't always treat outsiders as he did. It is part of the gospel that we hear every Sunday and that we carry in our hearts. Secondly, the Magi are not only outsiders, they are seekers. They traveled the desert in doubt. They were not sure what they were looking for. They read the stars, making inquiries. Perhaps at the end, they would find nothing at all, but they continued their journey. I've met people like that in my life, and I'm sure that all of you have met people like that as well. I remember a church that I was serving in and was talking to a group of Sunday school teachers. One of the teachers said with some reluctance, to tell the truth, I feel like a hypocrite coming to church and teaching Sunday school. I'm not sure I believe everything that the church teaches anymore. I go to church, but my mind wanders. I have my doubts about a lot of things, about faith, about religion, about even the church itself. Now, my ear caught on the word hypocrite because I knew that many people felt that way and were confusing the term hypocrite with seeking. Real hypocrisy means people not only do not practice what they preach, but they are calculating about it. If they can get something out of it, then that's what they do. But seekers are different. This is the person who practices what he or she preaches, but not out of total conviction, or maybe with minimal conviction and minimal comfort. This person keeps up appearances, maybe for the sake of children or social pressure, says prayers in church, but has some genuine difficulty about faith, or is just spiritually lifeless and is just going through the motions. This person says, how can I believe in a God when I look around and see all the destruction that is going on? How can I prove God's existence? How can God or going to church mean anything to me since my prayers for so many years have gone unanswered? I pray such as it is, but it's like I am talking to myself. I go through the motions. I go to church, I receive communion, I serve on committees, but I'm not sure about anything anymore. So much has changed. My family has changed. The world has changed. So much has happened. I just feel like a hypocrite. But this is not hypocrisy. This is journey and this is searching. This is the discipline of keeping up appearances, not to deceive, not to win applause, but to win some kind of sign that God is really here and that God really does care. This is the journey of the spiritually numb, hoping and praying that a thaw is going to come their way. This is the quiet, joyless duty of people going through the dark night of the soul. They are trying to be faithful even when they don't get anything out of it. Such people as this are not hypocrites. They are searchers for the truth. They are magi seeking, and they are magi accepted. Matthew, in Matthew's wisdom, wants us to know that. Finally, the Magi are latecomers. They are the out of steppers, the flirters with religion. They are the intellectuals, the sophisticates with another agenda. They are those who are different and they walk to a different drumbeat. Yes, the Magi are latecomers, but they too are accepted. In Wayne Waugh's novel Helena, a story of the Emperor Constantine's mother, the Empress is at the end of her life in Bethlehem, thinking about the Magi, she says this prayer. Like me, you were late in coming. How laboriously you came, taking in the sights and calculating the way where the shepherds had run barefoot. Yet you came and you were not turned away. You too found room before the manger. You are my special patrons and patrons of all latecomers, of all who have a tedious journey to make it to the truth. Dear cousins, pray for me, for his sake, who did not reject your curious gifts. Pray always for the learned, for the oblique and the delicate. Let them not be quite forgotten at the throne of God when the simple come into their kingdom. So here we have the converts, the good thieves, the Augustines, the Dorothy Days, and all who finally exhausted by all their mind games, and those who have nowhere else to go but to a simple baby in a manger, a latecomer and welcomed. Matthew had that in mind too. So this familiar and beloved story turns out to be our story, doesn't it? Which is why the Magi have so much appeal to us. The three Magi are not Caspar, Malachar, and Balthazar. They are the outsiders, the seekers, and the latecomers. Matthew knew that all along, just as he knew that the Magi offered quirky gifts, and he offers a happy ending. For the misfits have been accepted, the givers have been embraced, the journey is over. They have found what they were looking for, and we have found what we are looking for in that baby at the manger 2,000 years ago. Amen.